Right, okay, hello everyone. We are going to do a special today, which is semi-live commentary, and we're going to look at the level storyboards, which I'm going to start now for purposes of syncing up things later. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through them, I'm going to click through them, I'm going to say what they say, just in case you can't read it, and then I am going to comment on it. So here we go. Right, Amazon Event 1, Climb to Plateau, Introduction to Movement. Right, we actually did that, that was in the game. Vista of entire level. Yep, that happened as well. We've got some sort of smokedy thing down there. I'm not sure what the hell's going on. Plateau. Forest exploration. Now this happens a lot. I'm not entirely sure what they meant by this, but it certainly looks like a denser forest than we really have. Event 3, dropship site. First melee combat, as in first combat. Forest exploration and combat. And then on to the river crossing. Again, that really happened. Forest exploration again. Hotshot standing there going, what the fuck? I've been here. What's going on? Something strange. Temple ruins. That happened again. That's the scene which the temple was to the right of. So, climb to waterfall. That didn't happen. Well, not really. It was just a straight path. And then we crossed the waterfall, which was going to be a lot harder by the look of it. And then into some forest exploration and combat again with a guy moving to the left. He's going, I'm going to move to your left. You're not going to be able to get me then, hotshot. Alright, ravine crossing, light vehicle, you were going to just jump across it. If you were Optimus, though, you were going to smash into a pillar, knock it over, and walk across it, which would certainly have been cooler. So, more forest exploration / combat. That guy is still moving to the left, he's a commie. And bridge crossing with a light transformer would have been an arrow heading towards us? What? If not, we would have knocked over a pillar again. Way! More forest exploration and combat. That guy is still moving to the left, he hasn't figured out that it doesn't work yet. And then we're going to be introduced to the spider tank. Now, we were really introduced to the spider tank at the base of the hill, but instead of that, we would have been introduced to him in front of a large temple. This is, I'm pretty sure that's the large temple from Deep Amazon. More ravine jumps. That would have been fun, I'm sure. That's the multiple jump that was in there, it's just smaller, and Hotshot standing there going, what the fuck? I've been here. This is forest exploration again. Okay, first view of enemies at the temple area. This, I guess there would have been 3 temples there rather than 1. That looks pretty much like the start of Deep Amazon. So, we would have been introduced to the dropship, which seems to be somewhat different to the real dropship. And then we would have gone into the temple. And found a minicon. Yes, apparently our first minicon would have been inside the temple. A hell of a long time to wait for a minicon. The entrance point would then collapse. And we would have fought a really weird looking helicopter. I guess that was Cyclonus, but yep, that's Cyclonus going "Arr" for some reason. I'm not sure about that. And anyway, Cyclonus buggers off. Light transformers have to traverse the marsh to access a minicon, but otherwise no. These are tilting plates apparently. I'm not sure what the hell that's all about. Alright, and then we would have had to make our way up a hill as a side quest apparently. Heavy transformers can negotiate slippery surface to climb ridge to extra minicons, it says there. Return quest, you would have got the glider on the first stage, apparently. So, with Glide Minicon, player can access platforms and caves that were previously inaccessible, it says there. And that's it for the first set of storyboards. I've been Evil Tim, go on to the next set of storyboards, you bastards. Okay, so we're going to stop the recording here. Right, and here's where I decided to do the 2 other sets of storyboards as a single one. We are going to start the second set of storyboards, and we are going to start it now. Here we go, set of storyboards 2. This was for, I think, the Antarctic stage? I don't know. Here we go. Let's go. Alright, event 1. We would have immediately been spotted by the sentry drone, as opposed to, like, pissing around trying to avoid them before. So there it is, the sentry drone's got an arrow pointing to him for saying sentry drone, and he would have buggered off. I don't know why we've got Hotshot in all of these, but there you go. And then a pack of grunts? I don't know, would have come towards us, firing lasers that go to big or something, I don't know. Sentry droid leads enemies to player, bastard. Right, so we would have looked over the snowy plateau, would have seen the crash plane in the crevasse field, which we did. Sentry would have spotted us again, I guess. No, avoid sentry droids and patrols. There's a patrol, there's a sentry. Right, 4 arrows. There's a minicon inside the crash plane, which looks really, really crap. Looks more like a fucking crashed shark, really. Look at it. Ridiculous. Find crash plane, fight enemies for Energon Vision minicon. We would then have had energon vision. Now there was a blizzard that reduced visibility, but it didn't reduce visibility anything like this much. So we would have actually apparently needed to use Hawkeye here rather than just, you know, it being a bit handy. Explore Snowy Plateau, avoid Century Drone. Yeah, we've done that already. Then the Decepticon starship would have turned up, good lord. Sorry about that. Research station, observe enemy activity. Dastardliness would have been afoot. Oh no. And we would have seen Demolisher fleeing with some minicons. Minicon in hand, it says there. Bastard. Right, so the dropship would have escaped, and we would have found a turret gun. Don't know what the hell that would have been there. We would have then fought the ship with the turret gun. Take that, ship. Boom. Oh no. Return fire with turret. Ship shot down and crashes in nearby mountains. Boom. Hee. Right, and then we head off into this same bloody screenshot again. Head off towards plateau in direction of crashed ship. We would have jumped across moving ice floes as opposed to the stationary ice floes that we had. That would have been great fun, I'm sure. And then we would have fought enemies on the larger icebergs who would have shot at us. We would have made our way up a cliff, apparently, alternate route downriver along cliff ledges. That was sort of like what we did do in Alaska. Complete river crossing near deserted supply depot. Go in there, and we get attacked by our first shield arms. They would have been fairly weird looking. Well, look good. Explore maze-like canyons. Surprise attacks by hidden enemies. That was the crevasse field in the end. Jump ravines in vehicle form. Cross both canyon already travelled. So little arrows there. And explore maze-like canyons again. High-speed driving. That looks a little like the start of Amazon. We would have emerged on a frozen lake with the crashed spaceship on the ledge above it, which again sort of did happen. Navigate up through the ice caves. Yep. Fight enemies in the ice caves. This is sort of like the second part of Alaska, only that was a much cut down and wasn't particularly icy. Broken ship entrance would have been our way into the ship, rather than, you know, don't care, being our way into the ship. Explore ship and open blast doors to access the control room. Yep, we did that. And we would have fought Demolisher in the control room, which, given the layout of the control room now, would have been absolute hell. Him going "Arr" again. It seems that the Decepticons in this original script were going to be pirates, while the ship creaked and groaned loudly. However, when we had almost defeated Demolisher, Megatron would have blasted the ship, and it would have gone bang, creaked, and fallen. Ship slides down cliff. As the sound effect. The ice cavern up there. Ship comes to rest vertically on the ice. Yep, that happened. There's some weird arrows lurking around. And instead of the ship climb just being a vertical climb, we would have actually had to fight Demolisher during it, which is pretty fucking horrible. Right, we arrived back at the cliff top, and we would have gone back into the ice cavern. Then Demolisher would have fought us as a tank. I imagine they cut this because Megatron is also a tank, and fighting two tanks would have been a bit hard to make varied. He was going to shoot down icicles from the cave ceiling. We would then have found... this is a side quest. There would be an excavation site with the Minicon starship, which looks like a UFO here, rather than looking like the Exodus, which it actually is. And there would have been... Jesus Christ, the Earthbreaker would have been fucking huge. Yeah, we had to get up there with the jet Minicon. So I guess the glider was going to be one of two flying Minicons. We would have had to jump across sinking ice floes, using the glide Minicon to get another Minicon, and finally we would have needed a melee booster to get a Minicon behind an ice wall. Metroid, anyone? And that's it for that one, so let's go on to the next one, shall we? Yes, we will. Right, here we go. Level Storyboards 3. This is the level storyboard for the Mid-Atlantic / Easter Island one, so let's go. We start on the beach under fire from jet snipers. Yes, that actually happens. We haven't actually seen this level yet, but yeah, this is fairly close to what really happens. Use the glide plate to negotiate cliff ledges. That doesn't happen on either stage, really. Driving section in narrow tunnel. That certainly doesn't happen. It sounds fairly stupid anyway. Exit tunnel can confront heavy tanks and jet snipers. Now, heavy tanks aren't in the game at all. I don't know what the hell they actually meant by that, anyway. We would have used the rock formations as cover from the heavy tanks, apparently. Jet snipers outflank player. No, they don't. Second gliding section, which is apparently looks identical to the first one. This is a really nice idea. This is how they were going to introduce us to the stealth commanders, or stealth sergeants as they call them here. You would have fought them on a lake, and they would have been made visible by ripples in the water. Now that is a really good idea. Use reeds for cover? What the fuck? That's a really bad idea. Dropships bring more enemies. Dear God, that looks like a really cool idea. Quicksand at the edge of the crater, tilting plates to jump across again, alternate path to the lake. I think that's the exact same sketch that was used in Amazon. Third gliding section. First sighting of tidal wave, who would have been located in mid-Atlantic, which would have been off to one side of Easter Island, apparently. Oh shit, we get ambushed by dropships. Rah! There's a more vicious-looking dropship, by the looks of things. Dropships rise from behind the cliffs. You will actually see that on Pacific Island. Use dwellings as platforms path up cliff. What? Use dwellings as platform path up cliff? Yeah, there's words missing there. Sea cabin interior glide section. Dear God, I wouldn't have been looking forward to that. Right, fighting Ramjet. Ramjet is Tidal Wave's minicon. He is a jet. He wasn't present in the battle because he would have been grotesquely out of scale, what with, you know, being scaled to the other minicons and not scaled to, say, Tidal Wave, who is, strangely enough, not about 20 feet tall like he would be if he was to scale to the other Transformers in the series. So we fought him using the Easter Island heads to cover. Ramjet could have shot through them, though. And the Easter Island heads going, "Oh, my fucking head, you bastard." Okay, we'd have had to glide over to the rock columns. In other words, we'd have had to glide over to mid-Atlantic, under fire from heavy grunts. That's heavy units, by the way. Dodge incoming fire, and land on tidal wave. Waves of grunts coming within. Move to closest turret. Turret? Oh yes, it's a turret gun section again. I'm so glad they cut those out. Gantry level of the hangar. Yep, went there. And in the hangar level, grunts come to life as you get close to them. Now these blocks here, grunts were going to actually have a storage mode, the light units, where they folded right up into cubes, but in the end that never happened. And then we would have had to fight these things by going pow and wham and stuff. Side wings featuring narrow corridors, melee combat. Apparently we would have had a radar there for some reason. There was going to be a minicon on the bridge, which we would have found. And then Tidal Wave was going to transform wrong, because the aircraft carrier part is his arms, not his legs, so this would never have worked. And then we would have fought him. Drive along sandbar to escape fire, yeah, we actually did that. We were going to actually have to jump onto him to attack him, which would have been quite cool, by the looks of things. Side quest, return and fly to the other islands for minicons, which seems a bit weird, seeing as we would have got the glider on level 1. And that's it for the storyboards. I would guess that there were going to be more levels than that, but they then realised that these levels were too fucking big. So there you go, I've been Evil Tim, this has been a special update. Thank you very much for listening to it and watching it and so on. And